Cincinnati should have run the ball. Will Halvey go Hermantown on the call? Did Ant go full pelf to take the fall? Wolves in 5. Very timely, because he covers some old business. Throw across the body. New business. Hockey Day, Minnesota coverage. Hockey coverage beginning tonight at 6 o'clock right here after we wrap up. Did Ant go
a hockey game, the second of two great games here at the X thus far.
And Ant, of course, last night blamed himself for the loss. I don't think it was all on him, but obviously the 2 fouls early, not helpful.
Missed a lot of shots,
and he did miss some shots.
He had some great looks.
He took, but then there's a couple I don't like them all. I don't like. No. I want him to go. He had a hard time. Their defense was good on him, I thought, at times, because he didn't seem that inclined to go to the hoop much. I'll have to double check how often he went to the free throw line. I don't think a bunch, but that all works. So that's all very, very good. It sounds as if significant numbers in the thousands protesting. I believe in this. This is in downtown Minneapolis now, correct? And is this the event that will culminate at Target Center? Is it people speaking at Target Center? Is this related to that, or is this a separate thing? Do we know? Do you know?
I don't. I would assume yes if it's downtown, but I don't know specifically.
So we may try to include one of the reporters who's covering this particular story to update you on the very latest. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686. I had a couple of texts that I was saving, but of course I didn't do a very good job of here it is. This is actually. Well, it treads into dangerous territory simply because we're in a mode right now where other people get to decide for you what you should or shouldn't do. Example. I listen to the show, appreciate you frequently having honest takes on tough subjects, have eloquent guests that might be on either side of an issue, and you subscribe to the follow story approach. There are going to be many more chapters to the ICE DOJ occupation in Minnesota. But there is enough evidence to date to make clear that what is going on here is illegal, unjust, and historically immoral. I certainly have made no bones about agreeing with all of that, and we've laid that out many, many times. He writes, like thousands of Minnesota citizens and businesses, I am not working today. As an influential and principled journalist and entertainer in the Twin Cities, I'm disappointed you showed up to work today. Business as usual. If you're going to do a show, Pablum today on Twins free agency and Wolves bench and Gerby bit, that fails to meet the moment on a historic day in Minnesota. And I would say I shake my head a little bit because I've resisted and battled this notion that other people get to decide for me how I attack, when I attack, how often I attack, and who I follow and who I don't. It's convenient because that person has decided this is what, if you're going to be serious about this subject, this is what you must do. Why? Well, because other people have decided that that's the case. What if I think tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, and the day after that are just as important? I'm not presumptuous enough. Stewart is the name of the individual here. I'm not presumptuous enough to think I have a right to decide for other people how they show their ire or wherever they are on a given issue. He's decided for me that there's only one position I can take and there's only one way that I can go about doing it. And again, God bless you for believing that that was the move that you wanted to make. I respect it, but I'm not going to be presumptuous enough to decide for other people that this is how, whatever your protest is, if you believe in protesting or disagreeing with, this is how you do what you must do. I'm on 6 days a week, right? Mostly on Sunday, we don't talk a lot of politics, although we've made some exceptions depending on the significance of the story. We have done it from time to time. We have stepped out, so to speak. I'm not here to say that I have a perfect record or that I have a record that he or other people might necessarily agree with regarding how strongly I've come on regarding any issue or how often, whatever the case may be. All I can say is I'm comfortable with my approach and what I am willing to do and what I am interested in doing in a given situation. And I do have great difficulty with the presumptuousness, the arrogance of someone else telling me this is what you must do. Because there's an event in downtown Minneapolis, your obligation is to either to not work. I choose to work. Does that mean I'm less committed to the issues of the day regarding ICE's conduct here? I'll be glad to stand on my record on that, which is, I think, been pretty vocal. Now, in reality, there's some people who think I've been too vocal or disagree with me or say you're not being fair on that issue. That's the problem, and that's maybe what Stewart can't understand because he's probably not in the same position. But this is not the first time this has come up, right? It has come up in many, many other different contexts, and I think it's a problem in the country that really it's and you know what has generated a lot of it? I think what has inspired a lot of it is social media. It's
absolutely.
I've seen you tweet this, and this. Are you aware of what's going on in Minneapolis, St. Paul? So the presumption again is that however you live and that person has no idea what you think or what you've done or what you've said. But at that moment, they've decided that, well, yeah, I get to decide for you that if you don't respond in a certain way at this minute to this situation, then I get to call you out and determine for you that you've not done enough. Now, the irony of that is that can be turned on every other person who at any given moment may talk about some other subject or tweet about some other subject or Insta about some other subject. Say, well, you realize what's going on there? Most people, even people who are principled in their convictions, I think understand that they are also continuing to live their lives to varying degrees. And I think implicitly they know that nothing they do that day is probably as serious or as important as what's going on, in this case, now in the streets of Minneapolis. But they still decide, I got to live, and I'm not going to allow you to determine where I need to go, how far I need to go, or what I'm even thinking of in my mind as I tweet something that might seem innocuous, or as we talk about something that might be viewed as innocuous. If you want to do it differently, do it differently. I respect that. I have no problem with that. But you're not going to get to tell me what I'm going to do. And if I disappoint you, that's on you. That's not on me. That has nothing to do with me, even though you want to tie me up in it because you've decided this is the minute. I'll even argue with the belief, if you wanted me to be blunt about it, that whatever the attempt is here to have everybody not work, I don't even think has the effect that it's intending to have. I don't. I think you can ask some serious questions. Given for 2 weeks, what have we heard? The economy here is starting to hurt a little bit because restaurants are afraid to open. And by the way, I understand why. Schools, in some cases, are going to what? They're basically saying, kids, you do not have to come to school. Destructive, awful, etc. What was the quote from one of the restaurant owners? We're almost back to COVID days. So the irony here is that this, in a sense, contributes to that. And so I'm even willing to have the discussion and debate about whether this as a strategy is worthy. Not that whether the goal is worthy. The goal's been worthy all along, but whether the strategy is worthy. But in that person's eyes, I'm guessing he'd say, how dare you even suggest it? That's the world I choose to live in. You don't have to share it, but I don't have to apologize for doing it exactly the way I want to do it.
Let's go to 27 on-air production meeting because we're going to call Rob Olson from Fox 9.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Because he just got into Target Center and has to get ready for the 5. I'll give you the keyword quickly, and then maybe you can look at a text or something while I get Rob. KFAN.com. Make the keyword gold for our national cash contest. KFAN.com, keyword gold. And then we'll split up the 2 segments with Goessling, but I'll be right back.
Okay, so I say we go to 27 while we get Rob on, is what you're saying. That works. Because he is covering the protests in Minneapolis. He'll update us on where we are. I think there was one earlier today at the airport as well. I don't know if he had anything to do with that, but we'll discuss what he has seen and where this goes from here and what might take place or what will be taking place at Target Center as well. Part of it for me, and I've said this is nothing new for me, for anybody who listens to this show. I have not only have I stood up for, go back to the No Kings protests. Not only did I laud those protests, I defended many of the protesters who were dismissed as hardcore loony lefties. And the folks I saw, you could tell they had U.S. flags up. So this isn't about disagreeing with many of these protests. But I'm also not interested in being performative. And I'm just going to flat out tell you, there are many people who are in this for conviction, and there are many more who are performing to make themselves feel better about themselves. And I just, so I'm not interested in telling other people exactly when they're supposed to do what or how they're supposed to do it. It's the old expression about watch your own bobber. That would be my preference at this point. Let's get our next guest in, Rob Olson. Great reporter at Fox 9, kind enough to give us some time here on very short notice. Rob, thanks for the time. Tell us where you are and what you are covering as we speak.
I am just right on the edge of the floor of the Target Center. Pretty loud, so I'm going to kind of go back into the hallway here. Just got in here. Was outside for quite a while this afternoon for the Ice Out Minnesota March and Rally. The rally here at Target Center, which was originally, when it was announced 10 days ago, was going to be at the Commons outside U.S. Bank Stadium, but they decided because of the cold they would just meet there and march from there to Target Center and have the rally here, which is yet to get going because there are thousands of people still trying to get in through the gates here at Target Center to get inside the arena itself.
Do we so best estimates for the actual the march itself? We are definitely in the thousands. Do we have any good estimates from your standpoint or others who are good at making those sorts of projections?
Not yet, but for sure thousands because from what I understand, I mean this is a ticketed event, the rally here at Target Center. For obvious reasons, because they need to be able to know how many people are coming, or they need to tell people, that we're full. And as I was then coming over here from the Commons at the U.S. Bank Stadium, I saw hundreds and hundreds of people then walking back towards U.S. Bank Stadium. That obviously were not coming to the rally because I didn't get tickets. Here, then, the escalators and the lobby and everything is just jam-packed full of people who are ticketed to get in here. Right now, the lower bowl of Target Center is, maybe half to 3/4 full and just a few on the upper level at this point because they're all still trying to get in here. So, if this is a full event, take that attendance and add hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands more to that for the march through 9 below weather from one side of downtown to the other.
Do we have any idea who will be among those? I'm assuming some folks are going to speak. Do we have any idea who will be speaking this afternoon?
I haven't seen a specific speaker list. There's got to be one out there just in the midst of all this. I have not laid eyes on it yet, but I know that it's various. This was formed by Isaiah, which is a collection of pastors and church groups. And along with some labor unions and community groups. So I know that there's going to be some labor unions represented and some community groups represented that will be speaking here. But again, this rally, which was supposed to begin at 3, is nowhere near starting yet because they're still trying to get people inside.
Rob, can you give us a sense of what kind of police presence there has been through this? Everything I've read and seen indicates that it's been an extremely peaceful protest through downtown.
Very peaceful. I saw a minimal police presence. Again, I was over by the Commons outside U.S. Bank Stadium. And the police presence that I saw there was simply traffic control because, this is a march of thousands through the streets. So the ones I saw were just trying to block traffic so that the marchers could get down here safely. Other than that, it was, a lot of chants, the ones that you're familiar with hearing by now, and a lot of signs and music. And, but peaceful, certainly peaceful, noisy, but peaceful.
And obviously, well, I say obviously, there doesn't appear to be any indication or hint of ICE presence through any of this on the fringes or any place else in that area. Is that correct?
Not that I have seen, not that I have witnessed, not that anyone has told me about, no.
Wow. So, and then once you get in, I guess it's hard to know how many are going to speak and how long the program is going to go on.
It's hard to know. I'm trying to find out those details myself right now since I just got in here within the last 10 minutes or so to see exactly how long they expect this will go. But since it hasn't started yet, I'd expect it's going to be a few hours until this is complete. There's a lot of people that will be in here.
Did you cover earlier today? Probably not, I'm guessing, given you where you are. But there was, I thought, call for a demonstration somewhere near or at the airport. And I was told that there were some demonstrators there. Do you know anything about that at all, or how big that was, or where that was located?
Information. Okay. I do know that there was a demonstration outside, the upper level where you drop people off. And I don't know. I didn't get a number of how many people were there, but I know that did happen. And then there was, something that moved into parking ramps that involved some ministry or faith leaders as well. But again, that's just all I've heard. I was not out there for that. I had a colleague that was there that just kind of gave me some brief cliff notes on what he saw.
One last item. I've got a text from a couple people saying that the Target Center is no longer requiring tickets for people to enter if they ever did at one point. Do you know about that? Is that the sense you have, or what? Do you have any info on that?
I didn't see that. I know that this was a ticketed event.
Right.
That when you sign up for this, it was tickets, and it sounded like those were all claimed.
Gotcha.
I will go check on that to see if they've changed their policy, but I don't know if they're no longer requiring tickets. I mean, I do know that they had the same requirements as any other event in here in terms of, you can't bring signs in here and, the bag rules and stuff like that. But in terms of what they've changed the tickets, I don't know. I can just tell you that getting through the lobby on that skyway level of Target Center, I had to come downstairs to come in. The press entrance was, it was crowds like that we used to see trying to leave the Metrodome back in those days,
in the day,
where you're barely moving through there. It's just shoulder to shoulder people trying to get in here.
Rob, I really appreciate the time. You got a million things to do, so thanks for giving us a few minutes to just sort of update people, because obviously this thing is big, and so we wanted to make sure at least we covered it.
It is big. Yeah. This was, considering the weather, the temperature, you didn't know how that would affect turnout for the march part itself, versus maybe just coming to the rally. And it didn't seem like it made a dent in that at all. I was, in fact, after I was parked right by the Commons there, I got down there well beforehand, and once the march got underway, it was a good 90 minutes until I could move my car out of there, because that's how long marchers were still coming down the street, and the street was closed. From the time that it began, and I was by the start line, it was about 90 minutes until the end of the march past me, and then I could pull my car out of my parking spot there. It was a stunning amount of people.
Great information. I appreciate the time very much, Robin. We'll be watching you later tonight. Thanks again.
You bet. Thanks.
Thank you. Rob Olson, Fox 9, on the scene in what is a massive and so far incredibly peaceful demonstration through the streets of Minneapolis, all funneling into Target Center for a program that has, as he said, not yet begun. Originally ticketed, at least a couple of the folks texting us claiming they have connections to organizers that they're no longer asking for tickets. I can't confirm that, but it wouldn't particularly surprise me if they're getting more of a walk-up perhaps than they even expected. We will return to the toy department check in with Ben Goessling. We'll find out how far he actually did run in the minus 50 wind chill either last night or this morning, and then get to some other items, including the Minnesota Vikings and the National Football League playoffs next. Lavelle coming up at 5:30. We're out at 6 today for hockey coverage on the Fan, right? What's the matchup?
It's an Iowa Wild game.
That's right.
In Hastings.
Part of Hockey Day Minnesota weekend.
Part of Hockey Day Minnesota weekend with Halvey and Parker Fox on the call.
I mean, that's as good as it gets. So that's why we're out a half hour early. Lavelle, new satirist for the Star Tribune, joins at 5:30.
You should get Goessling's opinion on that. As a former ball guy writer.
I probably should. Ben Goessling is with us now via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Brought to you by, as always, Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. So we're going to give Lavo, we always do, a chance to explain himself. But Ben, his most recent column that's up at StarTribune.com, the basic premise of it is this is obviously what's this weekend? Hot stove? No, what do the Twins call it? Twins Fest. So they're making the manager available. They're making Falvey available, and it's time to kind of like, all right, let's get the hot stove league going. And the premise of Lavo's column is that more than anything else, what the Twins really need to do is do something that will surprise us. And there's a part of me that says he's got to know that satire, right? Because we know two things. A, we obviously know that's true and has been true for a long time. And B, he especially clearly knows that it's not going to happen. So I'm hoping he's presenting this column not in an earnest fashion, but as a satiric column. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I would. If we're talking surprising, as in like making a play for a pitching staff or making a play for a middle lineup hitter, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean that it certainly would be surprising. I mean, that part is not wrong, but yes, I think the recent history of the ball club would suggest that probably is a bit far-fetched. Yeah. So perhaps it was written with some satirical intent in mind. He can explain it for himself. Yeah. But yeah, I think if they were to do that, there's no doubt it would be surprising based on how things have gone.
This kind of came out of nowhere to you. This is from Brad to Ben, to you. Last week had a playoff game where Sean Payton's team won in OT on a field goal at home. The game featured dubious officials' rulings and PI penalties in OT, and the visiting team didn't do itself any favors with their turnovers. Was this actually New Orleans Vikings, January 2010, all over again?
I mean, I suppose could say that. It was certainly.
I didn't think of it that way.
I mean, Sean Payton's playoff resume certainly has been aided pretty significantly by teams doing that. I mean, we'll see if this weekend without his starting quarterback, if that is furthered. But he's had a couple pretty big wins go his way on that basis, and I suppose he would be the one to say that the pass interference call that eventually led to the short-lived reviewable pass interference rule change was a call that went against his team. I think in the year that the Rams went to the Super Bowl, I think it would have been the year after the Minneapolis Miracle in 2018. But yeah, he's had a couple of those go his way. So yeah, it has a little bit of that feel. I mean, a guy that certainly Vikings fans have not forgotten about very clearly gets the benefit of a similar set of circumstances. So yeah, there's some similarities there. I would imagine most are not rooting for Mr. Payton's club.
We know the producer of this show. In fact, he is so anti-Payton that he's preparing. He's so intent on preparing himself for Denver winning with a quarterback that has no business playing that he's already predicting Denver's going to win, so he won't be as devastated when it actually comes true. Is that about? Am I
just going for like the reverse jinx, or just trying to?
Well, I don't even know. Are you I didn't think you were jinxing as much as you're just. Then this is how you best emotionally prepare yourself for that outcome.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping for the reverse jinx, but I'll be honest. I'd kind of forgotten about the link of just ridiculous help from officials getting Sean Payton to playoff victories as well. I totally blacked out on the pass interference call on Ben Lieber.
Yeah, I'm surprised. He went deeper than you did.
I know, and now I'm even more. I've got more fear and loathing than I even did, because that's right. That's part of the story. Can't deny it. So
Ben, I suppose you could make the case that in 2019, when he lost a playoff game to the Vikings, that there may have been a slight push from Kyle Rudolph on the overtime touchdown as well. So not that we like to talk about push.
There you go. Good point.
With relative to the Vikings and playoff games around here, but that one might have gone against him too.
How about that?
That not even close.
Yeah, he's not going to. He's not going to go for that because it's going to make Peyton look better. How about this idea? So Guardsy is proven right. Denver wins
9-7.
I want to change that a little. Let's say Denver wins 27-20.
A shootout.
Stidham is brilliant. And the Vikings have their quarterback to go compete with J.J. McCarthy for training camp next August.
There you go.
There it is.
Sean Payton could be the guy that delivers the next great passer to Kevin O'Connell, I suppose.
Think about it.
You can't rule it out.
No, you can't rule anything out. All right, can you rule out, is it just about... Is the clock getting perilously close to 12 for Brian Flores when it comes to getting a head coaching job in this cycle?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think the fact that he signed the contract certainly is with regard to the offer the Vikings made. My understanding is they were going to go after him pretty hard financially and make it worth his while and make him one of the top paid defensive coordinators in the league. But yeah, I think this cycle, I mean, the Steelers are probably his best chance at this point. I haven't thought that that's probably going to happen. I think there's been teams that have looked at him and teams that have wanted to for reasons that we've talked about with the scheme, and people are interested in what he's doing. He's been inventive. He's been, kind of cutting edge in a lot of ways around the NFL, but the head coaching discussion comes down to more than that. Obviously, it's how we lead the whole organization. How will you handle the quarterback position, which is going to be a question for the Steelers, certainly, as they go forward. So I would tend to think it's more likely than not that he's back here in Minnesota next year, because obviously the contract is signed, and I don't think his head coaching prospects are good enough that it will result in him getting a job here at this point. I think it's probably more likely that being a really good coordinator is, at least the immediate future for him. We'll see if any of that changes down the road, but I think that's probably where we're going to end up. And the fact that he did the contract and the Vikings made the move that they did. I mean, they've been trying to get this done for a while, but the fact that he signed it, I think, is an acknowledgement of the fact that the offer was good and it's something he wanted to sign. Barring a head coaching opportunity, I think it'll be the one he ends up coaching under next year.
All right, let me get to an item that you're well aware of, I'm sure, that we at least touched on earlier in the show. Apparently, former Vikings assistant Mike Pettin, who I think once upon a time was a head coach in Cleveland, apparently was on a show.
Kevin O'Connell's first job.
There you go. That's a good point. He was on a show called The Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And he apparently said, I guess he must have been asked, any thoughts on, B-Flow. And his answer was, not many that I would prefer to share. I mean, we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. That's why I spent this past year on offense. I was there on defense, 23 and 24. I'll take the high road on that one. Did that surprise you? Now, again, it doesn't necessarily have to be an indictment, a blemish on B-Flow's record. It could be a personality conflict. Things like this happen. But I think it did raise some eyebrows. It's kind of interesting, Pettin being that direct. Did that come as a surprise to you, or did you have any knowledge that there might be a little bit of a schism there?
Yeah, I'd heard some things. I mean, the fact that he was as direct as he was is probably unusual. I mean, you don't see guys go quite that far, or even, kind of the no comment in the way that he did it. He didn't leave a lot of, room to be uncertain about why he was giving a no comment. But yeah, I knew there were some things there behind the scenes, and I think some of that is you got a couple of coaches who are pretty strong-willed in the way they do things, and certainly Brian Flores has people that have worked well with him and people that probably haven't. So yeah, I think some of that was in the mix over the last year or so, and they moved him to kind of that offensive role. He really had been. He came in initially in 22 as this kind of head coaching surrogate or head coaching, a guy that could help do some of the head coach functions when Kevin O'Connell needed to go do the CEO type things. I mean, O'Connell wanted a coach that could run a meeting, could do some of the head coach type functions when O'Connell was pulled to go meet with the marketing department or go have to talk to ownership, all of the things that a head coach has to do in the modern game. He wanted somebody that had been through that understood it, and could sort of give him either by, standing in for doing some of those jobs or being able to do some of that stuff around the organization so that O'Connell could kind of close his door. I remember talking to Pettin about this. He said, I want Kevin to have his time where he can just close his door and grind film and not have to worry about any of the other stuff, because I've been a head coach and know how to handle it. So that was how he came in, and then eventually had to take over with the linebackers when Mike Smith, I think, stepped away from the team. So there was a couple of years of that, and then moved back to this kind of defensive line on the offensive side of the ball role this year. But yeah, I mean, I think some of that was because, as he said, the tension with Flores and the tension with the relationship. So, I mean, this is not an unknown thing with Brian Flores. As the tech people say, it's a known issue in terms of he's a guy that wants it done a certain way, and that doesn't click with everybody. Obviously, he's been incredibly successful doing what he does, but yeah, not everybody's going to work probably as copacetically with him as you might with other coaches. So yeah, there was some stuff there, and I think it's part of the reason that you had to figure out what this was going to look like going forward. But yeah, it's one of those things that it's kind of worth understanding, part of the relationship there. But yeah, I think the way he's gone about it, he knows what he wants. He knows how he sees things and what he wants to have things look like. And there is, I think, a reason he's pretty staunch on a lot of the things he believes.
All right, let's get a short pause in now. Don't we need one to get caught up? I think we do. We'll get more with Ben. We'll talk a little bit more. My phone bank, this phone is just not working, guards, if you can put them on hold. I don't know what the issue is, but we got several more minutes. If you got questions for Ben, pass them along to us. Don't forget Lavelle, top 5 at 5 yet to come. Top 5 at 5 at the top of the hour. As usual, we will review Minnesota Wild hockey and Timberwolves hoops and who knows what else with Guardsy. Lavelle at 5:30. We'll keep an eye on the demonstrations. Huge, thousands upon thousands downtown Minneapolis heading into Target Center as we chatted with Rob Olson of Fox 9, who was on the scene reporting. Talked to him just before Ben joined us. So all that'll be a part of the festivities the rest of the way. We're wrapping up today a half hour early at 6 o'clock. If you have a couple questions for Ben, 65686 is the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Ben back indeed with us, brought to you by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. We've talked a lot about what the next step is at quarterback. If we think it's a given that they're going to add a more vital piece as potentially a backup or even as maybe a starter than a year ago, it's threading the needle, right, is going to be the challenge. Like, who represents the kind of quarterback that, they might be thinking could fit the bill if McCarthy is hurt again or if he struggles, let's say, in training camp. And that's going to be, it's hard, especially if B-Flow does come back. That's going to suck up all the oxygen, right? Even though there's other issues for this team. Again, are they going to remake the offensive line one more time? Do they need a restart there again? Or, a couple of other positions where they're going to need help if Harrison Smith follows through with retirement. but the quarterback thing is going to suck up a lot of the oxygen, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It'll suck up a lot of the oxygen in the conversation around the team. And I think there's probably no doubt about that. And the thing they will have to do is figure out how to address the other issues while giving plenty of time to handle the quarterback. I mean, that's going to be, I'm sure Kevin O'Connell will spend a lot of time figuring out the quarterback and figuring out how all of that fits together. But yeah, you've got probably running back, I would think, needs some help, maybe a little bit of depth there. Certainly wide receiver, there's going to be decisions to make with Jalen Naylor hitting free agency. You have to figure out what you're going to do with Jordan Addison long term. A lot of those things have to get decided. And then you have cap issues too, which may affect guys like TJ Hawkinson, Javon Hargrave. There's a lot of things to address this offseason and a lot of draft picks that they have to work with, which is different than the last couple of years. But yes, I think the quarterback approach will determine a lot of it, because you have to have somebody that you're behind. You have to have somebody that I think veterans say, yeah, I can come in. I think this guy gives us a good chance to win. I think as they're going through free agency, people will be watching what they do at the position and kind of taking some cues from that. And then when it's as expensive as it is, and this is a team that has some salary cap straits to deal with this year, how aggressive you get at that spot will probably have a lot to do with how much you feel like you can spend. So, yes, it's going to be a big piece of the offseason, as it has tended to be. But, yeah, there's a lot that they have to get figured out in conjunction with that.
People tend to maybe, their eyes glaze over when there's talk about the offensive line coach, because people like to talk about that as much as they do offensive line. Well, unless the offensive line doesn't protect properly, and then the offensive line, as it has in this town for many years, gets a lot of attention. So is the offensive, the decision to not renew or I guess extend, let the current or the former offensive line coach go? Is this a classic case of, all right, somebody's got to take a fall? Is there something that we can look at that indicates we needed to make a change here? What do we make of that decision?
Well, I think some of it is they've been struggling in that area long enough that you say, okay, we've tried to change a lot of the other pieces with players, and certainly they've changed a lot of the players in that group, and if it's not working, it ultimately has to be about coaching, or you at least have to consider that variable. So there's probably an element of it needed to be somebody else there. But I think when you look at guys that they brought in, guys like Will Fries, guys like Ryan Kelly, Kelly was hurt quite a bit, but Fries struggling to the degree that he did, I think in pass protection, they expected him to be better than he was. And it certainly did not seem like they got the type of return on the first year of that contract that they would have expected, where you're, again, having issues with pressure up the middle. You're having issues with whether blitz pickups are going to be smooth. They had a lot of those same problems this year that they have in previous years. So maybe you start to say, okay, if the player we brought in has succeeded in other places to the point where he earned an $88 million contract, maybe it has something to do with the way he's being coached. And I think a lot of those things with that interior, that was the reason they said we need to spend so much money on fixing this line, because of how bad that interior was at the end of 24. Obviously, when they give up 9 sacks in that playoff game against the Rams and they get bounced in the first round. So I think a lot of what they do from here is probably saying, who can we get that allows the guards and the center to work better together? Probably blitz pickups, pass protection, who's taking whom. A lot of those things working in conjunction with a running back as well. They've had a lot of trouble in that area, and I think teams have seen they can pick on the middle of that group, and the quarterback certainly plays into this too. And you have to have a quarterback that is able to set protections, able to protect himself, able to get rid of the ball. All of that plays into this. This is not just a one-person fix, but I think when it's been that consistent of a problem and they've spent as much money on players as they have, I think it does become something where you say, all right, let's see if there's another approach to this. Maybe somebody else has a different coaching technique that they want to use, or a different style of blocking and a different style of assignments, and how you pass things off, all of those kinds of things can play into maybe the performance next year. So I think a lot of this seemed inevitable. I mean, that was one of the spots that you figured if somebody is going to get moved from this staff, Chris Cooper has probably got a pretty good chance to be that guy, just because it had been a problem long enough that it seemed like it wasn't something they could delay addressing that much longer.
Do you think we'll get a replacement soon, or where does that stand? Do you have any idea?
Well, I think, the Flores thing was the first thing they had to get figured out. And now that that's done, I think you probably start to look at some of those options as the offensive line coaching ranks kind of get filtered out here. I mean, some of this stuff, coaches are assessing options, and I'm sure Kevin O'Connell is working through his Rolodex, which is pretty significant. He knows a lot of people around the league, especially given how many teams run a similar scheme to what the Vikings do. So I think he's probably working through the list, but you also have a lot of coaches that are sitting there looking at how all of these head coaching staffs get worked out, because as that happens, then offensive coordinators get filled out and position coaches get filled out. So you probably have a lot of candidates at the moment who are saying, I have a few different options to sort through, and it's a matter of saying, do I want to take this now, or is there a possibility that, maybe I end up in a better spot to move up or a better spot to have a larger role right away? I think that ends up playing into some of these things, but I would imagine we'll see something in the next week or two here, because they have to get that figured out as they start into the offseason. I mean, the draft prep process is not far away. The Senior Bowl is only a week away, and then it kind of goes from there. So it's not just working with the current roster. It's figuring out what you want to do for next year, and then they're going to have decisions to make on more depth guys than starters. But you have one on Ryan Kelly. You have one on guys like Justin School if you're going to bring him back. So they'll want another offensive line coach to be involved in all of those decisions and weigh in on those things. So I would think they would try to get that done probably in the next week or two, so that you can kind of move on with the rest of the offseason.
Well, you know who this show is rooting for. We believe there's only one choice. He's probably a long shot, but shouldn't be. Mike Tice. We want Tice back. There's still more juice in him. I guarantee it. I'm convinced of it.
Does he want to do it?
No, I don't think he does. But doesn't mean you can't. He might answer the phone. Who's to say?
Well,
Mike Tice.
and then you've got the
That's
guy
what he does.
Another head coach the Mike Pettin role that just got vacated.
Well, there you go. I hadn't even thought of it that way. There it is. Yeah.
You can't rule it out.
No.
It would be an odd fit, but it would be a lot of fun. That's for sure.
He represents a different style, but maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing for KOC to mix that part of it up as well. So I'll text him, see if he has any interest in the job. Because I always thought that's what he did best. I always thought he was a hell of an offensive line coach, that's really what he was.
Yeah, and they have struggled at that spot for a long time. And I can think back to, Jeff Davidson being here and Mike Zimmer getting rid of him. And then obviously Tony Sperano was kind of a cog in that offense and tragically passed away before the 2018 season, I believe it was. But yeah, I mean, they've gone through a number of different guys in that spot, and they've had a lot of trouble with continuity in that spot. So yeah, if you get a guy that's got a resume that's done it before, I mean, you can't rule anything out. Yeah. I suppose it would be it'd be quite the homecoming for Tice. But yeah, it'd give us something to talk about for a while. So I'll root for that.
How many miles did you run in minus 50 wind chill this morning?
I did not run this morning.
What?
I've been going treadmill the last couple of days. Did a big workout last night.
That's a hell of an admission.
Wow, we should have led with this.
I'm gobsmacked. I thought you of all people.
I could, but it's been more the ice than the temperatures.
Okay.
It's the road. I've got the cleats, but some of it is it's what you're trying to get in. If you're just trying to get miles in, that's fine. But I was trying to get a little more quality in last night. So we went treadmill just so the footing was all right. But yeah, there's places for it. I'll probably get out this weekend and it can be kind of fun in the late afternoon sunshine in the wintertime. It just depends what you're trying to do. There's a different tool for every job.
I'm devastated. Are you devastated?
Yeah, I'm shocked. Yeah. I just think I'm shocked because of the stubbornness of Goessling.
Yeah, so exactly.
You were worried about your base and balance, is what I'm gathering, on the base balance and Brosmer.
Yeah, my base balance body position was a little,
your equilibrium.
You get all tied together. It's not just for football players. You got to do all those things for runners as well.
Right.
Your neurological pathways on the ice, you were concerned about those.
And there's that. Yeah. I thought you would literally be the last guy still running. Really, literally, in the Twin Cities. If anybody would still do it just because he could, I thought it might be you.
I didn't even know you had a treadmill.
Well, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you want to go run, last night was 6 by a mile at probably 6:15 pace or so
Nice.
with a minute and a half recovery. So when you're trying to do that, in the cold and ice, it's a little harder to do. So you got to be reasonable sometimes.
All right, even you have decided to concede that much to the great Ice Nami. I appreciate you as always. We'll be in touch next week. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, thanks. And if I get out this weekend, I'll make sure I send you a picture.
Hell yes, please do, for sure. 100%.
You can count on it.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, thanks.
Ben Goessling, Star Tribune and weekly contributor to the Bumper to Bumper program for so many years. We're a little late for Top 5 at 5, which will include
Big Wild win and a disappointing Wolves loss.